MI6 agents James Bond and Eve Moneypenny are in Istanbul after mercenary Patrice, who has stolen a hard disk with information on covert operatives put in terrorist organizations by NATO members. Patrice injures Bond in the shoulder during a chase throughout Istanbul, and while the two men battle atop a train, M orders Moneypenny to kill Patrice despite not having a clean shot. Moneypenny unintentionally strikes Bond, who falls into a river. Bond is assumed to be dead, and Patrice flees with the hard disk. 3 months later, as a result of a public probe into M's handling of the stolen hard drive, Gareth Mallory, the head of Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee and a former SAS officer, pressures her to resign. M receives a mocking computer message minutes before the MI6 headquarters explodes, despite her assertions that she is still valuable. MI6 moves its emergency operations underground. Bond, who had retired due to his believed death, hears about the attack and returns to service in London. He fails a series of physical, physiological, and psychological tests, but M allows his return to the field, instructing him to find Patrice's employer, collect the hard drive, and murder Patrice. Q, MI6 new quartermaster, greets him and hands him a radio beacon and a Walther PPK revolver. Patrice is identified thanks to shrapnel extracted from Bond's shoulder wound, and intelligence places him in Shanghai. Bond pursues Patrice from the airport in Shanghai. Patrice walks up to a building and prepares his weapon for a shot. Bond is powerless to stop him from murdering a target. The two battle, and Patrice dies before Bond can learn who his boss is. Bond discovers a casino token that Patrice planned to use to pay for the killing, which leads him to a casino in Macau. Meanwhile, the list has been decrypted, and M has been informed that 5 names will be put on the internet every week. Bond is accosted in the casino by Severine, Patrice's accomplice, when Bond tries to cash the $4 million chip. Severine realizes Bond murdered Patrice because he wanted to meet Patrice's boss, who is also her employer. Recognizing her tattoo, he deduces that she was a sex slave, rescued by a criminal who now employs her, a man Bond would want to meet. She tells him that he is being watched by her bodyguards, but pledges to assist if Bond murders her boss. She wants to be free of Silva, so she agrees to assist Bond. Bond foils the assassination attempt and accompanies Severine aboard her boat, the Chimera. When British agents start dying, Mallory increases the pressure on M and commissions a public probe into the disclosures. They go to an abandoned island off the coast of Macau, where the crew catches and delivers them to Raul Silva, Severine's boss. Silva, a former MI6 agent, converted to cyber-terrorism and organized the attack on MI6. Silva expresses his anger for M and describes how M always lied to him and deceived him, which led to Silva's capture. Silva also informs Bond that M lied to him, he failed his evaluation, although M assured him he passed. When he was caught by the Chinese, Silva attempted to take his life by ingesting a cyanide pill, but it only disintegrated the insides of Silva's lower jaw while keeping him alive. Silva attempts to recruit Bond for his group, but Bond just appears to comply. Silva murders Severine, but Bond notifies MI6 reinforcements, who apprehend Silva and extradite him to Britain. M informs Bond that Silva was an agent in the Hong Kong office and a brilliant hacker. However, he had gone above and beyond his brief in hacking the Chinese. The Hong Kong changeover was approaching, so M traded Silva for 6 agents and a calm transition. Q attempts to decrypt Silva's laptop in MI6's new subterranean headquarters, but mistakenly grants it access to MI6 servers, allowing Silva to flee. Q comes to the conclusion that Silva wants to be abducted as part of a plot to assassinate M, whom he resents for disavowing and betraying him to the Chinese government in 1997, leaving him tortured and maimed. Bond pursues Silva via the London Underground, where Silva ruins an underground tunnel and an entire tube train crashes through it on Bond, but he escapes, and foils Silva's attack during a parliamentary hearing where M is present. Bond uses his Aston Martin DB5 to transport M to Skyfall, his childhood home in the Scottish Highlands, after instructing Q and Bill Tanner, Rory Kinnear, to lay an electronic trail for Silva to follow. They meet Skyfall's gamekeeper Kincaid, Albert Finney, and the three work together to install a series of booby traps throughout the home. Bond, M, and Kincaid kill the majority of Silva's soldiers, although M is injured. When Silva comes by helicopter with more men and heavy guns, Bond sends M and Kincaid down a priest hole to hide in a neighboring chapel while rigging propane tanks to explode. Bond flees down the same tunnel as the mansion and Chopper are destroyed. Silva survives the house's devastation by following Kincaid and M to the church. When Silva confronts M, he shoves his revolver into her hand and crushes his temple against hers, urging her to murder them both. Bond comes and murders Silva by stabbing him in the back with a knife. M eventually succumbs to her injuries and dies in Bond's arms. Moneypenny publicly presents herself to Bond after M's funeral and informs him that she is leaving fieldwork to become secretary for Mallory, the newly designated M. Bond meets with Mallory and informs him that he is ready to return to work.